Hello, good afternoon. My name is Red Krantz, and I've returned to talk about something that's been on my mind recently. Now, not too long ago, I was browsing G, and what I ended up finding was yet another "The Year of the Linux Desktop" thread, and everybody in the thread mentioned a whole host of different reasons as to why they believe that the year of the Linux desktop would never happen, but I feel like they're all missing one fundamental point. 2 years ago, Linus from Linus Tech Tips did a daily driver Linux challenge with a friend slash employee of his. This was seen as a significant event by several members of the Linux community, as this was one of the largest normie tech YouTubers introducing Linux to his subsequently large audience. Now, to be entirely frank, I have not watched the entire challenge in full, but I have watched several reactions by prominent Linux YouTubers, which I feel has given me the basis upon which to make my argument. The year of the Linux desktop will never happen because people, such as Linus, are either unwilling or incapable of reading and doing research. Yes, I am serious, and yes, I will elaborate. Let's break it down. Linus spent his time in Linux doing things you'd expect to be able to do. He tried streaming, gaming, word processing, and daily tasks. Ladies and gentlemen, we watched this man get filtered several times in broad daylight. I'm not going to sit here and go over everything that Linus did because that's just not necessary. I want to go over two instances and the reactions that YouTubers had that really grinds my gears because again, we watched a grown man who has been working with computers for years get filtered by a pop-up and a blatant lack of research. What do I mean filtered by a pop-up? Well, don't worry, I'll tell you. Linus began his journey using Pop!OS. Now at the time, Pop!OS had a bug that caused you to be able to delete your desktop environment if you tried to install certain programs. I believe what he tried to install was Steam, but that's besides the point. The point is that he got a pop-up that was in plain text. It told him that the certain packages would be deleted. He did not read the pop-up. He did not do any research on what it was asking. He just clicked accept and deleted his desktop environment and then blamed the distribution. Now, if he had done even a smidge of research, he would have known what was going to happen. If he had done a little bit of reading, he would have been able to figure out that to get his desktop environment back, or to even change his desktop environment, was probably two, maybe three commands in the terminal, but he didn't. And every YouTuber I saw who watched the video like I did ran defense for this brainless garbage. Everyone treated, and I cannot stress this enough, a grown man with the kiddest kid gloves possible. The pop-up told him exactly what was going to happen. This isn't a Windows pop-up where you get a generic error code and whatever message William decided was the most condescending. The pop-up and subsequent terminal message said in plain text what was going to happen. The following essential packages were going to be deleted. What did Linus think this meant? What does anybody think this means? This is my point. Linus represents the target demographic. These are the people that you would like the Linux desktop to target. People who are incapable of or refuse to read or do research. And that's a problem. Because what's going to happen is people are going to break their desktops. They're not going to want to read or research to fix it. They're not going to want to do any sort of actual thinking because that's not what they've been trained to do. Whenever they get a pop-up on Windows or Mac, they just click accept and then the computer does everything else for them. They're not incentivized to understand what's going on. And as I gave an example, when you get a Windows error message, essentially what you're getting is a generic error code. It could mean anything. It just means this isn't working. We can't get to this resource. We don't know why. There's nothing else we can do. Um, Restart your computer or something. And that's what they have been trained to do. And that's why the year of the Linux desktop simply won't happen. Right? So let me continue. Linus is quoted as saying, and you can go and check the video if you don't believe me. He's quoted as saying, "I feel like what I did wasn't that unreasonable." He said this in full confidence, and not a single person called him a retard for it. That's ridiculous. I feel like what I did wasn't unreasonable. You didn't read. Imagine a doctor came up to you and said, "Read this piece of paper, then sign it." Right? You'd want to read it first. What is this? What is this doing? What am I giving up? Right? But Linus didn't do that. Linus signed the piece of paper and then got upset at the doctor when he took his spleen. That doesn't make sense. You gave him his spleen. Right? The second major issue that I encountered with the video, that Linus encountered rather, and was in the video, was he tried to use, I believe, a Galexalar or some other sound-based streaming item that only worked on Windows on Linux. I genuinely do not remember anything other than it very expressly didn't work on Linux. Again, you can go, you can take a look. I believe it was in part 3, but I'm not certain. Again, all of this is public. These are not private videos. You can go on, you can do your own research. I'll link it in the description. I'll link all the videos that I watched. And you can go and check this for yourself. I implore you to check this for yourself, because again, he used something that very expressly didn't work on Linux, and when it didn't work, he blamed Linux. By this point, he had switched distros from Papa OS to Manjaro, which I don't know why you went for a more complex distro after breaking Pop! OS, but that's besides the point. He blamed Linux, the operating system, not the distro that he was using. Go, again, I implore you, watch the video for yourself. He blamed Linux as an operating system, not himself for not reading, and not the developers of the software for not making a Linux port, the operating system. He did not try to see if anyone had found a solution, whether it be jerry-rigged or duct taped together, things that most people who use Linux are or would expect to have to do in some scenarios. Not everything works as it should, right? This, and I cannot stress it enough, grown man who speaks English did not read, did not research, and none of the YouTubers that I personally watched, and again, I believe there were probably a couple that were very critical. I believe DistroTube, if you are aware of who that is, you probably do. I believe his video on Linus was more critical than the rest, but everyone else was running defense for, again, this brainless garbage. Again, I'm going to say it, brainless garbage. Because on what planet do you get a plain text pop-up and not read it? On what planet do you see something that is expressly not for Linux, use it on Linux, and then blame the operating system? Now, I'm not going to sit here and run defense for the read the manual crowd, but at the end of the day, they are saying something that is true, that is factual. If you want to learn, you should read the manual. If you want to understand something, you should read the manual. Do some research. Ask a question, something, right? But don't blame the whole system. That's what Linus did. And I want to conclude with this. I want to conclude with this little anecdote that I have prepared. It's typed up in front of me. I'm reading it. So here we go. I've never been good at mathematics. I'm not awful. I do all right. Right? But at no point in my mathematics career have I ever run into a problem I couldn't solve and then proceeded to blame the very concept of mathematics for my failure. That is what Linus did, and you let him get away with it. Think about that.